So now for today's announcement, I'm pleased to introduce Kristen Miale, President of Good Shepherd Food Bank.
Good morning, everyone. I'm zooming in with all of you today from our headquarters in Auburn, where the team is working hard to load food into tractor trailer trucks that are destined for all corners of Maine, and where local hunger relief partners are pulled up outside loading vehicles with food to bring back to their communities. As Maine's largest hunger relief organization, we partner with a network of more than 500 organizations across the state to ensure that our neighbors who are facing hunger have access to the nutritious food they need to thrive. I've been reflecting recently on how this time last year, we were filled with hope and optimism for 2020 and for the prospects of ending hunger in Maine during this new decade. At the time, there was good reason to have optimism. While still significant, the rates of hunger were the lowest Maine had seen since the Great Recession. In close partnership with food pantries, meal sites, schools, and healthcare centers across the state, we had grown our annual food distribution by 160% over the last decade. Together with community partners, elected officials, and dedicated supporters, we were making meaningful progress in ending hunger and improving the lives of thousands of Mainers. At that time, we never could have imagined the devastating impacts of COVID-19. Now hunger is on the rise by as much as 25%. That means an estimated 215,000 Mainers are facing hunger, including 60,000 children. The number of meals needed in Maine has skyrocketed back to levels we saw during the Great Recession. The COVID-19 pandemic has truly placed a microscope on the devastating impacts of hunger, and also on the resiliency of our partners across the state and on the willingness of Mainers to reach out and help their neighbors. Through intrepid work with our statewide partners, we're on track to distribute 32.5 million meals this fiscal year. Yet this appears to be only 75% of the 40 million meals we project are needed. The pandemic will someday fade away, but its impact on hunger won't unless we take action now. That is why we believe now is the time to boldly build a movement and end hunger in our great state. Today, I'm pleased to announce that Good Shepherd Food Bank is launching a $250 million campaign to end hunger in Maine by 2025. This campaign is unprecedented in many ways. Aside from colleges, this campaign is among the largest in Maine. In addition, we believe we're among the first food banks in the Feeding America network to launch a campaign of this size and scope. We plan to raise $100 million in cash and pledges and $150 million in donated food before the end of 2025, creating an overall fundraising goal of $250 million. I'm very pleased to share that thanks to the support of dedicated partners and supporters and thousands of Mainers, we've already raised $115 million toward that goal. We have been overwhelmed by support from so many during the quiet phase of our campaign, and we are so grateful to have the trust and confidence of our supporters. The goal of the campaign to end hunger is to ensure that every Mainer has access to enough nutritious food when and where they need it by 2025. And the primary measure for meeting that goal is meal distribution. As I mentioned earlier, we estimate that 40 million meals are missing from the plates of Mainers this year. Our goal is to fully meet that need while also investing in strategies that reduce the need over time. Our historical performance suggests that closing Maine's meal gap is within our reach. Along with our partners, the food bank has grown its distribution from 10 million meals in 2010 to 27.2 million meals during its last fiscal year, leaving a gap of 13 million meals. We will work to close this gap through our campaign by sourcing and distributing more meals, and progress is already being made. As I mentioned earlier, we are well on our way to distributing 32.5 million meals in 2021. But we know that food alone will not end hunger. My biggest concern is how we support our network of partners through this growth and what we can do as a state to reduce the demand on our network now and in the future. In addition to providing more meals, the campaign to end hunger in Maine will invest immediately and ongoing in the capacity of our community partners through direct grants. Indeed, for the first 6 months of our fiscal year, we've already distributed 5 times the amount of capacity building grants as we did last year. Campaign priorities also include developing new partnerships and innovative models for community food access and advocating for public policy that improves food access for families, seniors, children, and all individuals. And across all of its strategies, the food bank will focus on equity for communities of color, which are disproportionately affected by hunger, and inclusion of community members who have lived experience with hunger. Our $250 million campaign to end hunger is unprecedented, but it's also commensurate with the size and scope of the problem of hunger in Maine. Reaching this goal will be an enormous challenge, but it's fueled by early leadership support, and with the help of concerned and supportive donors, we believe this goal is achievable. Leading our campaign is Hannaford Supermarkets, which helped found the food bank 40 years ago and has continued to be our top source of donated food in the time since. Through donations of food and funds, Hannaford projects that it will contribute a total of $120 million to the campaign by the end of 2025. We are also honored that national philanthropist Mackenzie Scott carefully selected Good Shepherd Food Bank to be a recipient of one of the 384 grants she recently made to nonprofits across the country. Mackenzie Scott granted $25 million to the food bank this month, and we see her gift as an endorsement and validation of the work we've been doing with our partners over the last decade. The philanthropic investment from Mackenzie Scott will be an accelerator and amplifier as we work toward the goal of ending hunger in Maine. But the problem is bigger than what any one philanthropist can solve. Thousands of Mainers have been helping us fight hunger for years, and this campaign's success will be built on donations of all sizes, from individuals, corporations, and foundations who believe in a better future for Maine. More than 43,000 unique donors have supported our work since we began counting campaign gifts, including gifts of $5 or $10 from individuals to major grants from leading foundations and corporations. Ending hunger and its devastating effects in Maine is within our reach when we all come together and contribute to the solution. We are confident that when every neighbor has access to the nutritious and culturally relevant food they need, we will stabilize the lives of Mainers facing hunger, reduce the costly impacts of hunger in our state, and make Maine a stronger, more resilient place to work and live. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Erin Fogg to cover some details about the campaign.
Thank you, Kristen. As Kristen mentioned, I'll just go over some of the details of the campaign that Kristen referenced and provide a little bit more context. So the campaign to end hunger was born out of a 10-year strategic plan that we established back in 2015 with a focus on closing Maine's meal gap by 2025. So we've been working on growing our annual operating revenue since that time, while also completing a $5 million capital campaign to build a new distribution center in Hamden, which we opened in September of 2019. So with our own internal capacity well established, our campaign to end hunger in Maine now looks outward into communities to fund the hardest part of our work. How do we get enough nutritious food to every Mainer facing hunger when and where they need it? We began the formal planning for this campaign in 2019 and began accepting advance gifts at that time. The $115 million that we've raised so far includes gifts made to our Hamden Capital campaign, select advanced leadership gifts, and every single cash, pledge, or food donation since July 1st, 2019. As Kristen mentioned, the goal of the campaign is $250 million, and that's structured in two parts: cash and pledges with a goal of $100 million, and then the value of donated food that we receive each year with the total of $150 million in donated food over the course of the campaign. So we're thrilled to be off and running with this campaign and to share it with all of you publicly today, but we're even more thrilled about the impact it will have on the lives of Mainers who are experiencing hunger. We look forward to providing many opportunities for everyone in Maine who is concerned about hunger to join our campaign with support at all levels. Working together, we know we can end hunger in Maine. So now I'll facilitate questions for anyone who might have some. Members of the media can use the raise hand function down at the bottom of the screen to indicate you have a question, and I'll call on you and unmute you. And let's see if anything shows up. And Jess, if I'm missing something, you just let me know. You could also pop a question into the chat box. And sorry, Brian, we're seeing your question, Brian, from WABI about recording this. That is fine. We hope you did that if you didn't get our answer before. All right, well, I'm not seeing anyone raise their hand to ask questions. So we'll assume that we covered all of the details for you. And certainly, if you have an interest in speaking with either Kristen or me throughout the day about the launch of this campaign, we are here and happy to talk with you. And just please reach out to Jessica Donahue to coordinate that. Thank you so much for your interest and for being a partner and sharing this work with the world. We appreciate your attendance today, and thanks for your help.